Hello and welcome to the Pinfall. Today we've got a Pinfall Rewind. We are covering WrestleMania 17, held in Houston, Texas on the 1st of April 2001. My name's Wilbs and I'm joined by Barnsey and Jordan. How you doing, lads?
Yeah, good mate.
Well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, really looking forward to this one. This is regarded as one of the best WrestleManias ever, so we're going to talk about it in full. Starting off with the main event. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated The Rock to become the new WWF champion. This was the second of a trilogy of matches between these two, and definitely the best match these two had. Probably one of the best matches in WrestleMania history. Before I get your thoughts on the match, I just want to give a little tip of the hat to JR. His comment at the end was, Stone Cold Steve Austin has sold his soul to Satan himself to win the WWF title. Why, Steve? Why this way? I think this match will always be remembered for Stone Cold turning heel at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, the way he done it as well with Vince, the two people who utterly hate each other. And what you just said about JR, he was so good. It was almost like he's been stabbed in the back by his best mate. And I thought he was excellent throughout it. Just the raw emotion he seemed to play throughout WrestleMania was amazing. And I said it before, one of my favourite matches ever. It's just got everything. And, Austin's just trying his hardest to get that title back. And, he does do what needs to be done and sell his soul to Satan himself.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal match. Just everything about it. Even the look in the mirror before the match. You're like, obviously now looking back on it, like at the time you probably don't think too much of it, but now obviously when you're rewinding to watch it, you're like, oh, it's so symbolic, that little look at himself before going to the ring. Just even the little thing they do on NXT now with the pumping of the music, getting them to the ring, and then the music hits. I mean, the crowd is absolutely rocking by the end, and just. Only two matches have had three trilogy fights at WrestleMania, this being one of them. Austin and The Rock. This was the peak of wrestling, I think, for me, and just they delivered, and watching it back is just so good.
It tells you how good WWE are, or WWF at the time were, because they got Stone Cold Steve Austin to turn heel in Texas. And you just think, how's that possible? The fans just loved him. And they were still cheers even at the end, but you could tell, like, as the actions went on, he was turning heel.
Yeah, and they even got away with his music having some lyrics over it as well, which I actually completely forgot about. And then it's the glass hit, and then he's like music. I was like, God, that sort of hit me, like the nostalgia of that. And I've been sort of seeing that in my head all bloody day today. But just quality. And I loved it when Vince come down to the ring as well, and JR's just like, what is he doing down there? And he's just like so defeated. And just an amazing main event.
I mean, one thing I just instantly thought when I was looking back to it, when Austin walks to the ring and he gets up and he's putting his arms up to the crowd, and it's just like all the flashing lights from the cameras. There was one thing just throughout the card. I was just like, you don't really see that too much now because obviously you got better cameras, and it's just, them pictures, them people were taking must have been so blurry because there was 50,000 flashes in one go. It's just a great view to watch though when you're watching it back.
Yeah, for me, this is probably one of the best WWF matches of all time. And it started for me at the very start, before the match, with the promo package where they did Limp Bizkit My Way. I know, Jordan, you're a big fan of this video package.
Yeah, it's so good. Just the whole telling of the story and going back, and it was just quality. Just watching that again and then going into the match. I don't think WWE will get anything as close to that perfection again. It was just incredible.
Yeah, I think even to this day, they still try and... I mean, if they could get another feud as good as The Rock against Austin, it's just like that's probably the best, the two best going at it. And like the crowd love both. And just, this match had so much of a storyline in it. You had Austin's wife being The Rock's manager. You had them tag teaming on Raw for a few weeks. In the build up, there was like they were teasing, hitting each other's moves on each other. Just absolute perfection. I mean, the rocket in the stunner on Austin, I absolutely love that, and vice versa. I don't think Austin hit as good as a rock bottom as the Rock does, but it was just so good just to see them do moves like that as well. And yeah, it was standard 2001 to make sure that they were both bleeding as well. Took some pretty hefty chair shots, and yeah, just what a match.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't remember too many matches before this where they were using each other's finishers, and it's sort of now part of a staple in the big feuds. You always see it now, and they sort of broke the ground on that. And just the storytelling during the match is something I think I appreciate more looking through it through older eyes. Of, you know, they were really telling the story of how desperate Austin was to win, and even using like his old ringmaster submissions, and going back and just watching this match, which I'd thoroughly encourage anyone to do. It was just good to see that storytelling side of it.
Yeah, completely agree. And I think WrestleMania main event's probably the best one ever. So definitely, if you haven't seen it, definitely go and watch it because it is unbelievable. Barnesy, do you want to pick another match that stood out for you on the card?
Yeah, I don't think you can probably go anywhere else after that match without talking about Triple H and The Undertaker for me. It's after the Rock and Austin, the second trilogy match that we see at WrestleMania, this being the first ever match built as the only opponent that Triple H hadn't beaten on a main pay-per-view card, sort of one of their first meetings as well, and it just lived up to the bill. One thing I really think that's cool about this is obviously it's one of the first entrances we see Triple H in the his extravagant ways, and now obviously going forward to Mania this year, if he was to compete, his entrance is always something you look forward to, and just almost guessing as to what he could actually do this year. But yeah, getting sung to the ring by Motorhead, and it was the same thing with The Undertaker. You're used to that sort of 2-minute walk, but this one he's on the motorbike, so again that just had me in stitches where he's just down to the ring in about 5 seconds. But yeah, the match, just absolute chaos into the crowd, and it was just good seeing The Undertaker. Like, obviously he's had a 30-year career that's now finished, but back in the day he was so agile and moves flying out over the top rope, and just what a man. And just Triple H as well. This was just when he was sort of setting his own Hall of Fame career, and just seeing, it was just back in the day when they booked the matches perfectly, the best against the best, and having the Rock Austin in the main event, and then Triple H and Undertaker just below it was just, for me, I don't know if that sort of caliber of card's been repeated since.
I love the spot in this match where the sledgehammer's so and he's going up for the last ride and he just cracks him. It's just an incredible spot. Just even to this day, I find it so impressive how he just manages to grab that sledgehammer and then turn it round. Because even on the replay, it looks like he's like swung it into his back, but you see he's managed to turn it and dig him into his skull. Like you said, great match. This was like that period where Take had some phenomenal Mania matches, and really established himself as Mr. WrestleMania with that undefeated streak. I did find it funny in this match because the stadium's so big, and like when they go into the crowd, like the top tiers, they just must be like, oh, I see nothing. Like, it's just, it's such a big stadium. But incredible match for all the reasons you just said, Barnesy.
Yeah, I really got too much to add, really. You guys have pretty much covered it. I mean, in my notes had the sledgehammer shot, which again, like, just to echo what you said, George, brilliant shot. And the wrestling, like, in the crowd is, especially nowadays where there is no crowd, it seems crazy, like what they were doing. And yeah, I really enjoyed the match. I thought definitely a really good match these two had, and they had 2 more later on, almost like 10 years later, I think it was. So. These two definitely had really good chemistry. George, do you want to give us a match that you stuck for you?
Yeah, well, I don't think we can go any further without heading towards TLC 2, because in my view, I think it's the best TLC match there was, and it summed up pretty much every match on this card, just frantic from the start and just what you want for Mania matches. And just the added element of Spike, Lita and Rhino coming out and just some of the spots are outrageous, like the Spike Dudley Bulldog onto the outside, Lita's getting, gored, and just absolute carnage. Just what a match, and just put their bodies on the line like that. That spear from the ladder onto, I think it was Jeff, just absolutely outrageous that they came up with these things and then just landed them and done them as well. Took my breath away even to this day.
Yeah, one thing I've really noticed, like looking back on it, was like when the Hardy Boys music hit, you just see all the crowd run into like the entrance ramp as if it's like the darts is about to happen, and you go to the alley pally or whatever, and like everyone's running towards the entrance ramp to try and like grab a picture or get on TV or whatever, and you just see all the crowd just go whoosh for the Hardys. And another thing that really reminded me of a new tag team actually in NXT. I was sort of thinking that the Hardys were a little bit reminiscent of something like, I don't know what it is. It's just that they've got a little bit of MSK about them. And I was just like, I don't know, when I was watching the match, I was just thinking, hopefully MSK, we're talking about a Hall of Fame career for the Hardy brothers. If they can get anywhere near what they've done, it would be amazing. But yeah, like you say, some of the spots amazing. Obviously, one of the most iconic WrestleMania moments of all time is probably Edge spearing Jeff Hardy whilst he's hanging, trying to get the tag belts down, and also where Jeff pulls out the massive ladder and does the swanton bomb on the outside. He's just an absolute crazy guy, Jeff Hardy, and when you go back and watch this match, it's just 25 minutes of just you don't know what's going to come next, and even watching it back, he's probably the star of the match, even though he doesn't win. But they all take big bumps, and I think it's the Lita chair shot to Spike Dudley where she just absolutely buries it over his forehead. It's just sickening. But yeah, so many good wrestlers in one match, and it was just an amazing match.
Yeah, it was a great match. For me, it's probably the best ladder match, TLC match there's ever been. From start to finish, I thought it's brilliant. Like you said, some of the spots you guys have already said. At the end, we had Bubba and Matt Hardy going through the tables and on the outside. That was incredible. And let's not forget about Rhino, Spike Dudley and Lita. I mean, it was really, 9-person sort of match, really. So they all deserve some credit. Really, really good match. I mean, like we said, we've been saying about how good the card's been. This was a really good match on WrestleMania.
Well, I was going to say, was it TLC 3? Because of what happened in TLC 2, they sort of, were they added to the match as well? Like, they just, put them in from the start. But like you say, just that added element. And they came out and just did spots. It wasn't like they just hung around to, cheer them on. They came in, did their spots, and then just joined the car crash that ensued. Incredible.
Yeah, the next match that I want to talk about probably wasn't the fourth best match on the card, but it was Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon in a street fight. And for me, it's probably a bit of a guilty pleasure match for me. I'm not saying it was a masterclass, it wasn't a 5-star match, but something about it I just enjoyed. I don't know, obviously we had Shane's bump through the table when Steph pulled Vince out of the way. That was brilliant. And then Trish turning on Vince and then fighting with Stephanie McMahon. So you had that little bit of soap opera within the match. And then when Linda stood up, oh my God, the crowd go absolutely mental. And to be fair to Linda, I think she sells it so well throughout the match, and on the Raws leading up to it, how she just kept the straight face, and then obviously the end was Shane hitting the coast to coast, or as ECW fans know it, as the Van Terminator.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just loved the match. It's not 5-star wrestling, but it was just entertaining for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm completely with you, mate. When I watched that back as well, I sort of get them same feelings. It was sort of like the start of Shane, because that year he goes on to have some incredible matches. I mean, I remember one from, I think, King of the Ring against Kurt Angle, where he gets thrown through the glass about 3 times. I think that was probably one of his first WrestleMania matches, and it just demonstrated just what he could do. Obviously, he's fought some of the best at Mania now. He's fought AJ Styles, The Undertaker, just to name a couple. So, yeah, he's another fearless boy. We just talked about Jeff Hardy being absolutely fearless. Shane, there's not many things he wouldn't throw himself off either. But yeah, just in terms of this match, everything you listed, mate. Just Stephanie and Trish going at it as well. That was a little bit of TV that I personally loved. Just So good, so good.
Yeah, this was just the height of the McMahons, and people don't give Vince as much credit as he probably deserves back then, because, like you all just said, it's just so entertaining. And yeah, fair play to Linda, because she gets like pushed at one point right into the crowd, and they must be right in her face, just like you're doing obscenities to try and get her like to break character. So yeah, massive kudos to her for that. And yeah, just amazing. That coast to coast, I didn't realise that was the first one he ever did. I only come to know that because I think it happened to you, Wills, before, where you got spoiled on the pay-per-view by the down tabs. And one of the tabs said Shane's first ever coast to coast. And you could tell it was, because he nearly went through Vince's head. He went so far. But just fair play to Vince, Shane's never done that move before. And the boss of the company's like, oh, I'll take it first, just in case you do mess this up, It's only the CEO, so don't worry about it. But yeah, the McMahons back then were just at the height of their power and entertainment, and yeah, just a great match.
Yeah, I was just going to quickly say about Vince, he obviously did double duty, because he did this match against Shane, and then he's probably, producing the rest of the card, and then he comes out and he's in the main event, turning Austin Hill. He had an unbelievable night, really. And I think if we were all to start our own company, we'd want to be involved as much as he was in this card.
You think how many gimmicks or characters there are now based off of what he was back then? And I was watching. I sort of made it a thing to go back and watch the Broken Skull sessions, because I haven't watched them yet. And I was watching the Undertaker one today, and they showed the clip of him coming out to do the Vinna Rooney, and he just puts himself in those positions. He's not scared to, look stupid or, and yeah, he gets a lot of criticism now for some of the booking and that. But back then, he was incredible. I used to always love the Monday after Mania, and his music would hit, and the crowd are just singing, "You've got no chance," and just it's just fair play to the man.
All right, George, do you want to give us the next match? Maybe one that has some wrestling technique in it?
Yeah, well, that's a good little hint, that one. Kurt and Benoit, I mean, who doesn't want to see this match? And I like the story behind it. It's like Kurt, I think, was still undefeated and had never tapped out. So going into it, and then the finish, he's tapping, but the ref don't see it. And back then, it's the height of referees falling over and missing so much of the actual match. And yeah, just an incredible match throughout, and both of these guys just absolute exceptional wrestlers.
Yeah, I loved it. Was it Paul Heyman that said it? He goes, he can wrestle, he can brawl, but Kurt Angle can do it all. And it was just a little thing that really made me chuckle when it was on. Yeah, just as well, just talking about the flashing lights. The Benoit headbutt was another big moment where all the fans are out with their cameras, and yeah, I think it was an okay match. It was obviously something different for the rest of the card, but I don't know if it was the best match we've ever seen between the two of them. But yeah, the storyline was good, and obviously the way Angle rolled him up to get the victory and sort of keep the feud going was nice. So yeah, not for me one of their best matches, but it had a nice place in the card just for an alternative sort of traditional mat wrestling style match.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and obviously it started the Kurt Angle Benoit feud, because probably when Benoit was really feuding with Jericho for large parts of 2000 and the start of 2001. And then after this match, these two went on to have some really good matches. I think Backlash, they had a 30-minute submission match. I think it might have been. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they did. And even a couple of years later, I remember they had a really good match at the Royal Rumble as well. So these two had amazing chemistry, and they're two of the best mat wrestlers ever. So for me, it was a really good match. The only thing I didn't really like about the match was probably the ending, because it would have been, I guess it carried on the storyline, but Angle obviously having to use the tights it would have been nice just to have a clean finish if I was being a bit picky. But I enjoyed the match. It was a good one for me.
That was peak WWF back then. Just everything had a dirty finish to it. Either the ref was blindsided or, so. But yeah, it was good it carried on the feud, and like you just said, a testament to their ability to have a submission match and keep everyone sort of enthralled in it. You can't say anything higher than that.
Well, Barnesy, do you want to give us another match to discuss?
Yeah, I'll go for the European title between Eddie and Test. And as soon as this match sort of comes up on the card, it's sort of, you get a little bit emotional because both the guys are no longer around, and it's just sad when you look into the way that Test also passed away. He was only 33 when he died, and he had such a quite a big career in WWE. At one point, he was going to marry Stephanie McMahon before Triple H hijacked it, and he obviously fell victim to the CTE brain problems that Benoit also died from. And he when he come out, the crowd absolutely popped for Test. He was a pretty big star. The early 2000s in WWF. And yeah, just it brought back a little bit of bit of sadness really, but it was just good to be able to see them both on the card, and it was sort of where Eddie Guerrero was a heel, but sort of on the cusp of turning face and picking up victories in the way he did, the way he did throughout his career with the liar, the cheating, and the steal. And yeah, the new European champion was crowned. So yeah, decent match, and yeah, just more emotional rather than thinking about the match. Just actually these two guys are no longer with us, which is so sad.
Yeah, I mean, Tess was pretty high up. I think he had a bright future in WWF, WWE. So yeah, it's a shame that we never got to see it and how high he could have gone. And yeah, it's always good to see Eddie, whatever the match is. Just brings back loads of good memories and nostalgia. Just watching him come out and wrestle and do his thing.
Yeah, for me, I enjoyed Test when he was in WWF, and 2001 was quite a big year for him. I think he joined, and it was when the invasion was happening, and I think he joined the Alliance and was having matches with Undertaker and I remember and Edge as well. So he was he had a good year this year, or 2001. One thing I've got written down is Saturn's hat is unbelievable. Yeah. It's the worst fashion thing I've ever seen. But I think you say that especially for WrestleMania. But yeah, mate, I think Test was probably a little bit underrated, really, for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he was underrated as well. Just thinking back to the match as well, I just love when they first come in, the Radicals, the four of them, Guerrero, Saturn, Malenko, and Benoit. Just when they all come from WCW, it was just such a big thing at the time, and they started big in the company, and obviously went on Benoit and Guerrero went on to win WWF titles. So yeah, four unbelievable superstars, and just they were great on the main roster.
Cool. Well, I'll pick the next match, and just going on the same sort of thing that you've been saying about Barnesy, I'll talk about Chyna, because obviously she's sadly no longer with us, and in her match at WrestleMania, she won the women's championship for the one and only time, beating Ivory. The match itself was a bit of a squash. It wasn't a classic, let's be honest. Don't know if Ivory got any sort of offence off at all, really. It's a bit of a shame, because Ivory's probably another sort of underrated sort of star. She seems to be a solid enough women's wrestler, but never really gets spoken about as highly as some of the others. But yeah, for me, it was nice to see Chyna sort of get a WrestleMania moment, and she looked good she looked good in this match. Just a shame that really a couple of months later she left WWF, and the match was nothing really to talk about as such, but it's not a nice moment for Chyna.
I was going to say it was just like how you just said it was just getting her moment. Seeing this from the Royal Rumble when they sort of carried on the feud, it was just showing her back, give her a moment, and sort of carried on with the card. So yeah, it was just great for Chyna.
Okay, let's go to Jordan to give us another match at WrestleMania 17.
Yeah, well, we'll go to the opener and the crowd pleaser for all the Jericho holics out there, as he took on William Regal, and it was just what how you want to set up a WrestleMania, get the crowd going in a good way. Jericho on the cusp again, like we said about Benoit, Guerrero, and others, really, starting to work his way up that card. And it was good to see William Regal fight again. He's a good little wrestler. So yeah, it was just a good little opener, get the crowd going. And And just similar to the Chyna match, it's sort of what you needed just to get the crowd sort of ready for the rest of the pay-per-view and what was to come.
Yeah, it's funny seeing Regal being like the commissioner of WWF at the time, and now sort of 20 years later, he's the NXT general manager. And also, I think it's funny because I think his boy Bailey Matthews has just started his own wrestling career in NXT UK. So it'd be interesting to see what we sort of get from him. But I just used to think Regal's character when you first come into WWF and he was the real man's man, and it was just such a shit character. And then this build up was basically about Jericho pissing in his tea. And then having going on to have the match. But yeah, Y2J retaining. I think overall Jericho had a pretty good WrestleMania record when he's left WWF. So this was obviously one of his earlier matches. And just solid from Jericho. You know what you're going to get. It was just good to see him back in the day when he was just so good. Obviously you see him now in AEW and he's not as great with his moonsaults or his lion salts, and just Chris back in the day, and just so happy that he managed to get the win over Regal in this one.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about it at the end, but I think sometimes you need a little bit of a recipe for the perfect pay-per-view, and you need to have a solid opener. And for me, this was fine. It was short, but did the job. Good match, and got the crowd going, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this match. Barnesy, do you want to give us another talking point from WrestleMania?
Yeah, I'll go. I mean, just to echo what you just said there, I think the way that the pay-per-view started, you know that the last two matches are always going to be amazing. And there was just a real good flow, I thought, at the start of this Mania with that opening match, going on to the right to censor against Tazz and the APA. And just touching on that match, the one thing that I just thought was unbelievable was Bradshaw's backstage promo, where he talked about the Reliant Astrodome and all the amazing events that had happened there, and just how now WrestleMania was being in that stadium. And it was just, I was literally like, bloody hell, Bradshaw back in the day was big, and getting paid to drink beer on TV, just absolute money. But yeah, so after that, we then went on to the hardcore title, which is the one I'll talk about. I think we mentioned in the WhatsApp group, it was one of them 20 years ago when you're watching it, you think, this match is amazing. I'm watching it back now, I wasn't as impressed with the match, but yeah, there was definitely some talking points. I mean, my little one was watching it with me, and when he got thrown through the glass, was it Raven got thrown through the glass by Kane? That was just unbelievable, really. She was like, "Oh my god, is he all right?" So sort of just saying to her, "Yeah, it's obviously there." And they go through the walls, and then I think there was a funny incident that you also like, Wilves, where I think Raven sort of gets run over by the cart. He just about stops before his leg gets absolutely killed.
I just found out today that wasn't really supposed to happen. So I don't know if you remember, Big Show and Raven were sort of going off in their little go-kart, and because Big Show is so heavy, the car went like to the left and crashed. That's why they had to get out, and that's why Kane had to sort of didn't have to run him over, but I think that's why he chose it, because they were supposed to have like a bit of a like a chase in the golf clubs, golf buggies, but obviously that didn't happen, so he ran him over instead.
Big Show is so heavy. That's quality. But yeah, it ended in quite spectacular circumstances with Kane doing a sort of, I think they called it a leg drop on the commentary, but to me it looked more like an elbow drop. And yeah, there was a new hardcore champion, which I never really liked that belt that much. It's sort of, for me, the modern, at the time, the modern day 24/7 belt, which I'm also not a massive fan of. But yeah, just it was good watching it back. Like I say, it kept it flowing, and it was something different that added value to the card. So can't complain too much. And it was nice that Kane, he didn't win too many belts in his career in WWF, so it was nice that he got the hardcore to his CV.
When you go back and see this match, you remember those spots, and the sort of the ones you're looking out for, especially that glass going through the window. I just remembered that so vividly before even watching it again, and then it happened, and it was just quality. And fair play to Raven. You got to have some massive bollocks just to get in the ring with 2 7-footers to start with, let alone a hardcore match. So fair play to him.
Yeah, like we've just said, I remember back in the day, I loved this match. Watching it again now, I didn't hate it. It just sort of, don't know, maybe I've watched it too many times. But yeah, it is what it is, really, isn't it? It's just it's just something different. And yeah, I just, looking back on it now, and obviously we covered Royal Rumble in one of the Pinfall Rewinds, the fact that Kane gave such an amazing performance in that Royal Rumble, and his reward is being put in a triple threat hardcore match, it just doesn't seem right, really, does it?
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Kane just when you think of some of the things that happened in his career and the way he was booked. But yeah, we were talking. You touched on it earlier, Joel, where they were fighting in the crowd for the Triple H Taker match. This match was basically all backstage, so I don't know what the crowd were doing when this was on. They must have just been watching it on the Titantron. But
yes, so there was one other match. It was the Gimmick Battle Royal. The Iron Sheik won that. I mean, I've got nothing to even say about this one. I don't know if you guys do. No, good, no. Right. Yeah, so obviously, like I said at the start, and we've all been thinking it, and people have probably heard about it in the past. Everyone sort of says WrestleMania 17, best WrestleMania ever. Where do you stand on that statement?
Yeah, by far for me, the best pay-per-view there's been. I don't think any have come as close to it. I'm remembering it fondly as I did as a kid, and going back and still having a great time watching it just shows how timeless it's become. Because you could easily go back and watch it now and be like, oh, God, it's not as good as I remember it, but it is just a hell of a pay-per-view. Those big matches just hit the mark, and yeah, just absolutely fantastic. And then it culminated with Austin Rock, which just one of my favourite matches ever.
Yeah, I think for me it's almost like the benchmark. When you watch a WrestleMania now, you're comparing it. Is it as good as 17? So I think that gives you everything. We've had another, what are we on this year? Is it WrestleMania 37 this year? So you're talking a good 20-odd WrestleMania since then. And yeah, I was just comparing it. Is it as good as 17? Just the way it flowed, the storylines, the stellar superstars on the card. Just an unbelievable event, yeah, from start to finish. From the minute that promo hits with Limp Bizkit at the beginning, you're just gripped to the TV. And yeah, it's just the perfect duration as well. It's not on for too long. Absolutely phenomenally booked for me.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much what you just said there. Perfect amount of time, 3 hours, 45 minutes. And yeah, 20 years ago, this event happened, and everyone's, like you said, everyone says, oh, is it as good as WrestleMania 17? You think, does WrestleMania 17 get sort of overhyped? So I watched it again recently, probably for the first time in a while, actually, and it lives up to the hype for me. I mean, you've got maybe 4 matches which could be match of the year just on this card. And there's matches that bring different elements to what you enjoy. Like you've got the McMahon Street fight, and you've got the Angle Benoit sort of technical match. And obviously the 3 sort of main matches that we spoke about. Yeah, for me, this has got to go down as definitely one of the best, if not the best WrestleMania ever.
Agreed, yeah. You just think WrestleMania 17, that's the one you compare every other WrestleMania to.
It is the benchmark.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed our Pinfall Rewind of WrestleMania 17. We'll be back with WrestleMania 35 very soon. So thank you very much for listening. We've been the Pinfall. Time to ring the bell.